In a world that is just flooded with information and all these competing claims, you have to ask yourself, how do we know what's actually real? Well, today, we're going to crack open an ancient text that offers a pretty radical blueprint, not for just believing in truth, but for actually verifying it for yourself.
So let's just start with this question right here. How do you know that what you believe is actually true? It sounds so simple, right? But man, it is one of the hardest questions to answer. We inherit beliefs. We're told things our whole lives. We build up these deep convictions. But are they built on solid ground? This ancient guide really challenges us to find out.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at a classic confrontation over truth. Then, we'll see how a really powerful metaphor just shatters the whole idea of blind belief. Now, the real magic happens next, when we unlock the original meaning of these ancient words, turning them from these fuzzy concepts into a practical path to seeing what's real. And finally, we'll put it all together into a step-by-step blueprint you can actually use.
So our story kicks off more than 2,500 years ago. You have to picture this scene from a text called the Caṅkīsutta, a whip-smart 16-year-old scholar named Kāpathika. This kid has mastered all the sacred texts of his tradition. He steps up to challenge the Buddha, and he's got one very pointed question.
And there it is. This is the heart of the whole thing. Kāpathika isn't just asking something. He's laying down a challenge. He's presenting a worldview built on absolute certainty, one that's been passed down for generations. He's basically defending the idea that his team has a monopoly on truth. And well, the Buddha's response is not at all what he was expecting.
So instead of jumping into some big debate, the Buddha just starts asking these simple questions. He asks Kāpathika, hey, has anyone at all in your entire lineage of teachers, going all the way back, ever said, I myself personally know this and see this truth? In the young scholar, he's kind of stuck. He has to admit that no one has. And this is where the Buddha drops this just devastatingly clear metaphor. He calls it on the heavenly, a line of blind men. The first guy can't see, the one in the middle can't see, and the poor guy at the end definitely can't see. It makes the point so perfectly. If a belief is just passed from one person who hasn't seen it to the next, well, that faith has no foundation at all. It's just a guess.
Okay, so if just inheriting a tradition isn't enough, what's the alternative? Well, to get it, we have to become linguistic detectives. See, the Buddha's actual method is kind of hidden in plain sight, locked away inside a few key words in the Pali language whose common translations, they just miss the entire point.
Let's start with this big one, saccānurakkhaṇā. Now, this usually gets translated as protecting the truth or safeguarding the truth. And that translation makes it sound like truth is this fragile thing, right? Like something we need to build a fortress around to defend from all the bad ideas out there.
But, and this is so cool, when you break the word down, saka means what is real, rakka means to observe or to guard, but the secret ingredient is the prefix anu, which means alongside or to follow. So it's not guarding truth like it's a possession. The deeper meaning is an active process, following alongside what is real. And this right here is the whole visual shift. Forget the fortress. Instead, I want you to imagine a flowing river. You don't protect a river, you learn to navigate it. You watch its currents, you move with it. This completely changes the goal from defending a static belief to developing the skill of paying attention to reality as it actually unfolds. And that idea just gets deeper with our next keyword, sada. This is the word that kicks off the entire path. And the standard translation? Faith. Which, let's be honest, for a lot of us, that word means believing in something without any proof.
But that translation takes us right back to the line of blind men, doesn't it? A deeper look at the language shows that saddha is not blind belief at all. It's more like a verified confidence. It's the kind of trust you put in a guide or a map, but only after you've done some initial checking and found good reason to believe it's reliable.
So see, this isn't some blind leap into the darkness. It's much more like a scientist who trusts her microscope. Why? Because she's tested it, she's calibrated it, she has evidence that it actually works. This saddha is a reasonable, confident first step on a journey of investigation. So now that we have these much more accurate translations, we can see this whole thing for what it really is. It stops being a philosophical debate, and it starts looking like a practical, almost scientific method for investigating reality for yourself. These words aren't just beliefs to adopt, they're steps in a process. What this ancient text actually lays out is a clear causal chain. It's basically saying, look, if you start with A, that's our verified confidence, it will naturally lead to B, which then leads to C, and so on, all the way to a direct personal realization of what's true. It's a hypothesis, and it's inviting you to test it out.
So how does this test work? What is the actual blueprint? The text does something really clever. It reveals the path by working backward from the final goal. At each stage, it asks, well, what does this depend on? So let's trace that path, but let's do it going forward.
You can just see the logic unfolding here, can't you? The final attainment of truth isn't some random mystical event. It depends on actively striving for it. But you're only going to strive if you've weighed the teachings and found them worthwhile, and you'll only do that weighing if you put in the effort. That effort is fueled by a genuine desire to know, which only comes after you accept that an idea is even worth looking into. And what does that very first step, that initial acceptance, depend on? It all comes right back to our starting point. The entire causal chain, this whole process of discovery, is launched from that one absolutely critical foundation, saddha, verified confidence. It's the engine that drives the entire journey. So, in the end, this ancient blueprint isn't just handing us a new set of answers to believe in. It's giving us a whole new method for questioning. It pushes us to really look at the foundation of our own beliefs, and it leaves us with a pretty critical choice. Are we going to spend our lives defending a fortress, or are we going to develop the skill to navigate the ever-flowing river of what's actually real?